Lagos is the 5th in terms of economy. So what do we expect if Nigeria will follow this trajectory in the next 2-3 years?
Let's see how that goes. Nigerians are, like I said, impatient.
Yes, they're impatient.
They're impatient because what really matters is how they can be able to...
Mr. President is listening to them. He's the listening president.
Yeah,
he has done a lot of changes to suit the people.
It doesn't look like to some Nigerians that maybe if Mr. President is really listening.
They just want to see results now.
Of course.
It can't come just...
You know why? You know why? Because
but we see that there's from the programs he's outlining, we can see that this man knows what he's doing. He's a thinker and a doer.
What he's doing is different from what I want.
What do you want?
That's you.
Say it. Just say it before we end. Tell me. I'll give you the answer.
Oh, what is the? I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about
said you.
No, I'm talking.
Just tell me.
No, I'm talking about in
generality. You want to come back to 20,000 naira?
I don't mind.
I know you won't mind. I won't mind either.
Won't you mind?
I wouldn't mind either.
You wouldn't mind either.
But what I'm saying is, the reality of the matter is,
hold on.
Those years,
sir, wouldn't you like the dollar to be back to maybe 300,
400? Yes, I
would
love
like
that.
Wouldn't you like to buy fuel?
Do you know that Nigeria?
Wouldn't you like to buy fuel?
Let me say this.
Wouldn't you like to buy fuel?
Let me say this
at
for the record.
165 naira.
Do you know that we are spending 1.5 billion every month to stabilize the naira? Why should we do that? We don't have that money.
Yeah.
So this 1.5 billion that we're stabilizing the naira is what he removed, so that we have more money for other development projects. That is why now we have floated the naira. Let it compete at the international market. $1.5 billion every month during the last administration to subsidize naira. Come on, that is too much.
Let's see how that goes. No, just like I said, the largest cabinet Nigerians are looking, if indeed, is to cut cost of governance. But let's see how it goes in the next 1 year of this administration. He has 3 more years of this administration, and see what happens afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Yengasa, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, let's turn our attention to education sector now, where the Minister of Education, Maruf Tuji Alausa, has assured Nigerians that the age limit in sitting for the National Examination Council and West African Examination Council is no longer 18, but 16 years. He also mentioned that 80% of the education curriculum will be practical and 20% theoretical. We have more here.
Nigerian education system has faced a lot of challenges like lack of funding, qualified teachers, basic infrastructure, digital literacy, among other issues. This has affected the education system over the years, as it has increased massive unemployment because the system has produced graduates who do not have skills for the workforce in the 21st century. It is why this minister's under Bola Tinubu administration is determined to change the narrative. At this meeting, the Minister of Education, Maruf Tuji Alausa, disclosed that the ministry's aim is to provide sustainable solutions to Nigeria's education system.
We will not be going forward with the 18 years. We will go back to where we had before, 16 years. We will work with John and our university to ensure that people that are matriculating into our universities will be around 16 years.
He also explained that 80% of education will now focus on practical, while 20% will focus on theoretical teachings.
We will heavily focus on practical training. 80% of the education will be on practical training, and 20% will be on theoretical classroom-based. We will engage private sector artisans, where we will now we will incentivize them to take this as students, train them competently in this vocational training.
The minister talked about how the federal government intends to transform the education sector.
How we aggressively focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths. And there's a second end to that STEM, medical sciences. Today, we're bedeviled with lack of manpower to service our hospital, to provide care for our people. We will focus and redirect our efforts on STEM.
The education sector will now prioritize civic education to encourage patriotism among young Nigerians across the country.
All right, joining us live is public affairs analyst Kemia Ashepin. Of course, we're talking about education here. If you look at it, it's something that is worth talking about. But first of all, good morning.
Good morning, Demola.
It's nice to have you
here again. Absolutely. Where's Jane? Okay. My regards
You
to
understand?
her. I understand she's my birthday mate.
Oh,
so.
yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Arias.
Yes, absolutely. And happy birthday to her too when she comes aboard. Yes.
Okay. So, but let's first start from, what became a very controversial statement when the former Minister of Education, Mahmoud Tahir, was there, where he said that the age limit for education, for tertiary education, will be 18. Now, this current Minister of Education is reversing that particular policy and saying, come on, guys, let's go back to what we have, which is, of course, 16 years. How do we deal with that, the inconsistency of the Nigerian government policy?
You cannot call it inconsistency of the Nigerian government
because,
policy.
Well, you know why I call it inconsistency? It's government. If you need to give a policy, you should have, a lot has gone into it before you finally come in.
Let's start it this way.
Okay.
No one is infallible, right? And if you're going on a tangent and you realize that that tangent is not in the best interest of your people, right? The best thing to do is to reverse back. You cannot say because you want to be consistent on a policy, you stay consistent on a wrong policy. And let me put it this way. It was in the law that 18-year-olds are the only ones who can go into the university. It was there. It wasn't like the Tinubu government, brought it about. No, it was there. The immediate past minister looked at it and felt that it should be adequately implemented. Unfortunately, he did not look at the prevailing circumstances. The prevailing circumstances that happen today in terms of education are totally different from the prevailing circumstances that were in the age and time when the 18-year-old policy was put in place. So, unfortunately, the current, the immediate past...
You saw me roll my eyes.
I saw you rolling your eyes, but I will get to it. Unfortunately, the immediate past, minister felt that had to be mandatorily, executed. And of course, you're witness to the fact that there was a lot of uproar against it. In this age and time where education has changed in various ways, this is not the time to now say if you're not 16, you can't go to school. First things first, our young people have too much time on their hands. And that's the reason why you see a lot of that energy is being put into all sorts of things. So if you're smart enough to get admission at 16, why keep you at home? In fairness to the immediate past minister, his argument was they should go and learn a trade. They should go and learn something, a skill, But you cannot make that a mandatory thing when a person wants to go to school. Especially because this day and age, what you usually have is that people say if you're not, the youngest age for this employment is 25. Youngest age for this employment is 22. So if you're having that and you're now saying students should not go to school until they are 18, you're causing problems, right? And I must really, congratulate the new minister, Dr. Tunji Alausa, I believe, because that's what you call hitting the ground running. That was, for me, the most, that policy was one of the most scary things that the government was bringing on board. Right? And if we campaigned, or if the campaign of President Bola Tinubu came up on renewed hope, we shouldn't dash the hopes of youth. So for him to come in and immediately scrap that shows that he's ready to, do the needful.
You know why I was rolling my eyes?
Why?
If it's a law, it's a law. Irrespective of how you feel, It's just like you saying going to the court of law.
Okay.
The court of law does not care about your emotions.
Okay.
What they care about is what is the fact on ground. Present me the fact on ground.
So I'll ask you.
Hold on, ma. Present me the fact on ground.
Okay.
If the fact on ground says, at this age,
Yes.
this is what is going to happen. It's
Yes.
just like you saying going to America.
Yeah.
And America says, this is what happens.
Can I ask you a few questions?
I'm the one asking the question.
No.
I'm
Are
the one
laws made for men or men are made for laws?
I'm the one asking the question.
Okay, ask me then.
Do you understand? So, if that be the case,
Yes.
don't you think that's why I call it inconsistency of the policy? Yeah, I get it. Where you say you review and say, okay, I think what we said is not it. But if what you said is not it, is not bound by the law,
Okay.
it's a different ballgame.
Okay, but hold on. Let's be clear. Who made this law?
Of course, men.
Aha, that's number one. 2, was it this government that made the law?
Of course not.
Good. And if this government comes in and happens to just dust up the law and say this is what the law says, and this is without prejudice to the fact that I know it's a policy, you know, and all of that, but you know, I cannot say for certain how strong it is as a policy. You understand? So if we now agree that laws were made for men, if a man finds out that the law contradicts the progress of his country, is he at fault to repeal it? Also keep in mind that in the last few years, 15-year-olds have gotten into school. I don't agree with that. 16 is just fine, right? 16 is just fine, right?
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
I cannot tell right now. I have to go to school for that.
If you say 15, if you say 16,
Yes.
what's the difference? 15, 16.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Because
no.
because at age of, if a 16-year-old get into university,
Yes.
a lady or a guy
Yeah.
is
Can I say a few things here?
is already thinking, one is already thinking, I want to have a boyfriend.
Is that what you did?
No, I'm just saying.
No, but
I'm just saying.
Let me just say this,
Okay.
right? With the way we have private universities coming up daily in Nigeria, getting accreditation and all of that, the school system that we had when it was mandatory for 18-year-olds to go to school is not the same that private universities operate. You know, I have words in private university and I can tell you that they call it glorified secondary school. And if the child can get that degree, why not? You know, so for me, I'd say that it's not an inconsistent policy on the part of government.
It's because the government is not also doing its job. If
What
the
do you
government
mean?
was doing its job, what the private schools were doing is also out of line. How can you say somebody admitting somebody of 15-year-old, 14-year-old? Okay, I've seen 15-year-old.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Being in having niece.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, she's graduating now.
Okay.
She's 19, graduating now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, at your age, when I was at your age,
Was Jam being you?
no, I was in 100 level.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, and I'm just wondering, the government is not also doing, is on beats. Monitoring who monitors the monitor.
Okay. So, and that was what the immediate past minister tried to do.
That's what I'm saying.
However, hold on. In the last few days, I saw, I think, a 20-year-old who graduated with a first class, you know, from a university. Why would I want to hold such a girl back? If she was smart enough to get into the university, say at 16, and was able to graduate with a first class at 20, why hold her back?
There are exceptions. Exceptions in
Who
terms
determines
of
the exceptions?
no. Exceptions in terms of we've discovered that this it happens in America. It happens in some very developed countries. Exceptions is that this person is, you know, brilliant, intelligent. You know, doesn't mean that you isolate one and forget the system, because that's practically what we're trying to do.
If a student is able to go to school and able to finish WAEC at 15 in flying colors and able to pass JAM, right, in flying colors too, Why hold them back?
Life is going to treat them differently.
Who says?
Life is going to treat them differently. No, see, let's just be also a bit more practical.
Okay.
No, life is going to treat them differently in terms of the way a 22-year-old or probably a 21-year-old who is in school will handle issues while in university is different from when a 17-year-old is in university and is faced with a whole lot of issues.
Okay, so this is what I would say to that. You see, the challenge I think you're having is that you're looking at the university education as it was while you were going to the university.
Because that's
Do you understand? That's what the challenge is. You're not looking at the university education we are having now in an age and time where the internet is available, where AI is available, where so many developments.
But that's what the former minister was saying. You can also learn trade.
No, that's the challenge. In Nigeria, if you come back to your dad and says, Daddy, I have used AI to learn this, and this has been 2 years, and although I'm not a graduate, I want to go for a job. What would your dad say to you?
In this age and time?
Even in this age and time.
Yeah, is this age and time?
Most dads will say, you don't have a BSc, go get a BSc. Right? And that's one of the major challenges that we need to address. This is the new age where we have AI, we have internet. When we were growing up, there was nothing like that. You can practically teach yourself virtually anything you want on YouTube these days. You can even attend university, right? You can attend university lectures, University of California and co on YouTube. Yeah. You can learn whatever it is you want to learn there. So why hold them back?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It looks like it's almost... It looks like it's
always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's, of course, public affairs journalist Kemi Ashekman. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. We'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll still have more for you live from Abuja. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Life is politics. In Nigeria, almost every part of our lives is touched by the politics we play. Governance, legislative matters, the economy, security, foreign affairs, internal affairs. Have a feel as strategic plays in the political space determine how we live in Nigeria. The players, the drama, chess piece moves. Be kept informed. Watch analysis of major happenings in the political space and how it affects you. Watch Politics on Sunday.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. In the second half, we'll be taking you to the United States where President-elect Donald Trump has done it. The 35th President of the United States is heading back to the White House to become the country's 47th Republican. Of course, put a sensational political comeback. He defied his critics and the courts, survived assassinations attempt on his life. Addressing his supporters, Mr. Trump said America has given him a powerful mandate. While most Americans were still sleeping, Donald Trump got the minimum 270 electoral college votes, with the country turning red. A divided United States could soon be under the full Republican control, as the party has also taken the Senate, controlling the Supreme Court, and of course, taking over the House of Representatives. We will look at what happened, that might happen for America and the world with our guests. But first, this is how it all happened.
Historic win. President Donald John Trump, 78 years old, is now the president-elect of the United States of America.
This is also a massive victory for democracy and for freedom.
The 2024 U.S. election is perhaps one of the most keenly followed elections by the rest of the world. This is because of the global position of the United States and where this win may portend for other countries. President Donald J. Trump says he's going to end the war in the Middle East and Europe, which has raised significant concerns across the world. Immigration policies of President Trump have also raised concerns among global watchers. The concern for Africa is the treatment the region may get from a Trump presidency, especially with the perceived lack of interest in the region. Though a lot has changed in world relations with Africa between President Trump's first term and now, given that many countries are interested in forging a stronger partnership with Africa, it is not certain if President Trump will continue to display a lack of interest in the continent. Some voters share sentiment of a better economic policy from a Trump-led administration. U.S. stock market has already responded in a positive way to his win. But countries like China may not necessarily share the same sentiment, as President Trump in his first tenure stopped export to the U.S. from China, reducing trade between the two countries. It is not certain if the trade wars will continue. Overall, there are so many uncertainties over U.S. relations with other countries under President Trump, as his policies have always been U.S.-centered in his first term, and he emphasized the same during campaigns leading to yesterday's election. Hopefully, President Trump's belief in the First Amendment will not disrupt democracy in the U.S., which could have serious impact on democracy around the world.
And for more on the president-elect Trump emergence, of course, let's speak with global affairs analyst Solomon Soldier, who joins us live from the United Kingdom. Good morning, Mr. Solomon.
Good morning, Demola.
Yeah, okay, interesting. It's nice to have you after a long while. Let's look at the just concluded election in the United States. So many issues that came up. The issues, of course, economy was on the line. Well, of course, the issues of the human rights was also on the line. Morals was also on the line, you know. But while campaigning, President Trump promised the biggest mass of deportation of undocumented migrants in U.S. history. What does that portend for migrants in the state? Because that's one of his major campaigns. Strategy that he was going to deport a lot of illegal immigrants into the country.
Well, first of all, congratulations to him for winning the election in such a brilliant way. And also, I would also not dismiss the efforts of the opposition, the Democrats. However, on the subject of immigration, this is a very, very complex situation where if you look at the world at large, you'd see that there is a global surge of immigration crisis everywhere. In the UK, in the US, everywhere generally, there is this problem. So I do not imagine that he would have a magical key to just solve this situation in one go, but it was a very great selling point to get people to believe in his vision about economy and immigration. So that drove the campaign so heavily. And in my own opinion, I would say if he takes very stringent measures in deporting undocumented migrants like he describes them, that would just put so much stress on the social system and probably destabilize immigrant communities, because this is very complicated and very sensitive at the same time as to people that were biologically born in the US compared to separating them from their families and all that politics around it. I think it's just a tough call, in my opinion.
Yeah, this election just shows what United States is made of in terms of recognizing them as the economic power of the world, and the resident of that particular country feels that then the economy of that country is going down. So, and President Trump promised to end inflation, which rose to high levels under President Joe Biden before falling again. But a president's power to directly influence price is limited, you know. But how would you react to it, knowing fully well that, you know, immediately it was announced? As a matter of fact, you know, we were meant to understand that, you know, the U.S. stocks rose all-time high when it immediately was announced. So how, you know, does this come into play as he finally is sworn in as president?
As you've rightly said, he has limited control on that in matters like inflation, because this is not something he can just press a button and then all the whole metrics and everything on the stock exchange will just start to flip and go back. However, we've seen positive reaction from the value of Tesla going up and so many businesses showing good signs and signals that things will be better at this time. However, solving the problem of inflation in America at the minute, I think requires very complex economic strategies. And again, I'll come back to my point of this is just quality marketing. I mean, you know me well to be a business person. So when you see good marketing, good sales in play, you just have to give good credit to that. He's understood that the American people, these are their pain points, economy and immigration, and he has done the most with that. I mean, Trump is someone that is also a fighter, a businessman. He had so much in the process of the election with all the assassination attempts and all that. So he made sure he made the most of all the opportunities and the pain points of Americans. So now, in the reality of really delivering on what he's promised, which is not easy in any situation of governance, it just needs very complex strategies to get the economy to the point where he's promised the Americans it would be.
So I really want to ask you this question that has to do with the environmentals. But before I go there, let's look at the patterns of voting in America and how they were able to vote during this election. You look at the young persons between the age of 18 to 25. Then you look at the Hispanics. Of course, you look at the black community. You look at some swing states. That some swing states that normally will not go to the Republicans, but how they were able to vote. Let's just look at that and how does that translate into what Africa can also imbibe in terms of voting patterns.
Oh yeah, in this I will just give good credit to the excellence in marketing from both sides, both from the Democrats and from the Republicans. Being a digital marketing expert myself, I could see exactly what was happening. I could see what both parties were doing. For the Democrats, if I were to analyze what they were doing, for them, Harris focused on the pain point of women's rights, having control over their body, and for the government to not tell women what to do with their bodies. And focusing on that for Harris made her campaign center around women and mostly people of color. That was her own strategy, or the strategy of her team at least. So she focused on that. In my opinion and in my own analysis of this situation, I could see how that pushed away men, especially men of the white race, to focus more on Trump, because Trump said what would resonate to them better, which is economy and border control. So in both instances, they did excellent jobs, brilliant jobs in the marketing, in how they communicated to their support groups. Now, bringing this to Africa and African politics, I would say African politics needs to get to a point where the people are very, very involved in the campaigns and in the manifesto in very active and educative point of view, not in the way it is at the moment where it's mainly incentive driven. I would say it's mainly incentive driven, not necessarily about the policies or how it affects lives and that sort of stuff. That's not what motivates the regular African. Most times they are controlled by either their religious leaders, what they would get at the end of the whole election, or even in the process of the election. But for American politics and the American election, it just showed the brilliance of marketing and communication and how these people with very diverse view were able to communicate to their followers to see their vision even without it being executed at the time. And they could understand this information and they could take action based on this information. For example, if you look at the people supporting Harris, you look at the female celebrities around her, Oprah Winfrey, Taylor Swift, all these very popular talents supported Harris. And if you look at the kind of people that supported Trump, you see Elon Musk, Grant Cardone, and all these people that are very, very concerned about economy and business and that sort of stuff. So you can see the clear divide which comes from an intellectual point of view, which makes it even more brilliant, in my opinion.
Thank you very much, Solomon Soja, for giving us that insight. What a beautiful one. Thank you for giving us your time this morning.
Thank you very much, Demola. Anytime.
All right, let's move to, I'm glad to tell you that away from the U.S. election and back to Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu has expressed commitment to Nigerians and the diaspora as he calls for investment in achieving a prosperous nation. The president made this call at the 7th Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit, which opens in Abuja. And of course, talking about that with me on the show this morning is, of course, the coordinator, Nigerian Diaspora Summit Initiative, Badewa Adejugbe Williams. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Good morning.
I hope I'm able to pronounce your name well.
It's okay. It's Badewa Adejugbe Williams. Yes.
Okay. Pardon.
You are very close.
Okay, let's look at the challenges that diaspora is faced when, in terms of, investing back in the country.
All right. One of the things that most diaspora Nigerians complain about is, of course, corruption, instability, insecurity, lack of infrastructure. Now, all these challenges are opportunities. So how do we harness the diaspora in developing initiatives, reforms, policies, and investing in Nigeria and encouraging trade and investments? So even though they have challenges, we know that putting heads together, we can proffer solutions. And the way to proffer solutions is to come into the motherland, have a discourse amongst ourselves, look at all the other avenues that we can come in order to enhance the socioeconomic status and also the social welfare of our people in Nigeria. So even though we see this as challenges, they also present opportunities for growth.
I've been to a couple of your the NIDCOM programs, and I see how, the NIDCOM chairman, she's trying to engage.
She is engaging.
Yeah, engage the diasporans on the importance of investing in the country. But how do you think that, this can boost the economic resurgence that we have in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you so much for asking that question. Most often when we look at foreign direct investments, we're looking at investment into the big organizations, big corporations. We're looking at like public-private partnerships. But the real pivotal percentage of the population that are really responsible for driving the economic activities in Nigeria are the entrepreneurs, the micro, small, and medium enterprises, which are the ones we're focusing on. If we can focus on these entrepreneurs, we know that they will be creating the jobs, they will be earning sustainable income. The remittances that are being sent to Nigeria by Nigerians in the diaspora to their families can now go beyond just taking care of their social needs. So if we invest in businesses, these businesses will create jobs, they will pay taxes. The taxes will go towards developing the infrastructure in the nation. And the administration, we're glad to hear that they've been coming up with a lot of reforms and policies to combat the insecurity and also to combat corruption. So, case in point, the release of some of the hostages, arresting some of those insurgents, that is really comforting for us, especially the agri sector. It's the sector where we have a lot of interest in investing. And some of those who have actually gained investors into the agri businesses, they're telling us they have drones now, that patrols, and they have support from the Nigerian government, from security. So those are all very encouraging. So we know that the administration is doing something about it. It's encouraging us, and we're seeing a lot of results, a lot of impacts. So when we impact one business, the business, we're also telling them pay it forward. Okay, as we impact you, do so for others, and that way we can explode.
In the course of my conversation with people, even while I covered them, the most important of that conversation is the enabling environment, which is, of course, plays a larger percentage. If I want to invest in my country, for example, if I'm outside the country, I want an enabling environment where I know that if I invest, I can get a return on what I'm investing. How best do you think that Nigeria is doing in terms of creating an enabling environment for investors outside this country? Because don't forget, it's money, and we want to get profit.
Definitely. With the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment and its departments and agencies, NIPC for due diligence, You know, we always encourage, we are encouraging the government to continue to foster enabling environments for investors to come into Nigeria. And I know that the ministries and the departments and agencies are doing their part in making this happen. But we also have to appeal to the Nigerians themselves. You know, it's not a top-bottom approach, it's a bottom-top approach. That is the way we need to look at it. Let's look at ourselves at our own practices. And of course, the due diligence. I know there are always fraudsters in every nation, not just in Nigeria.
Of course.
You know, so it's just the way for us to realize and know what we have to do. And we're really, really grateful for the new Minister of Industry, you know, because she's one of us. She has been with us from the Investment Summit from the onset.
Okay.
She has listened to the people. She was there when she was at PEBEC. In helping the administration back then for the enabling environment to let investors come into Nigeria. And she has been engaging, you know, with the diaspora investors. And of course, I have to also go back to NIDCOM. NIDCOM has partnerships with all these other organizations like ICPC, you know, AFCC, the Inspector General of Police. Those are the people that are critical in helping to ensure that investors are not defrauded. And of course, NIDCOM is also coming up with a platform where they'll have this way of aggregating and also doing their own due diligence on the investors and the entrepreneurs themselves.
Just in 30 seconds, I just want to ask you, how do we have a data on how business owners are getting to bring back home to invest?
NIDCOM has data, NDSI has data of those who have been impacted by NDIS.
Okay.
So we have that. We have all the success stories, they're cataloged. So, and they're also on our website. And for this year, even the information at this year's summit alone, it's more than astounding. We were hearing numbers. You know, we'll invest this in you, we'll invest that in you, we'll give you. And it's not just about money, it's also about technical investment, mentoring. So if you're in Nigeria and you have a business, you're looking for investors, be at the next NDIS.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's really hard. It's really nice having to know that, okay, exactly, we can have this, you know. Nigerians really want to invest in their country and know that, okay, they can get something in return. And that's a big one for them. And I know that, you know, with the things that the president and the NIDCOM chairman is doing, of course, they'll be able to do that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay, we're still on the show. Of course, there's a lot to talk about, interesting, but let's now tell you about entertainment. The Big Brother Nigeria alumnus MS Iyele has taken to social media to announce the sad passing of his mother, Isioma. The reality TV star shared a heartfelt post on Instagram stating that he felt compelled to make the news public as he began his grieving process. He posted pictures of his mom and also an account number requesting financial assistance for the funeral proceeding. A renowned music producer and industry titan, Quincy Jones, who produced some of Michael Jackson's best-selling albums, has died at the age of 91. His publicist, Arnold Robinson, confirmed Jones died in his Addis, Los Angeles home on Sunday, surrounded by his family. Jones' career, which spanned over a period of 75 years, saw him achieve a 28 Grammy Awards wins out of 18 nominations. A Nigerian music star, Crown Uzoma, popularly known as Charlie Poppy, has officially parted ways with Dapper Music, the record label which helped catapult him into stardom. The breakup comes at the use of his single launching his own record label, Plutomania Records, earlier this year. This dispute follows a recent trend as it marks the second high-profile departure from Dapper Music in just a few months. A Nigerian Afrobeat star Davido has faced a backlash fans after excitedly announcing that he participated in the just concluded U.S. presidential election. The singer took to his page on X, formerly Twitter, to post a picture of him holding his "I secured my vote" sticker, happily announcing that he exercised his civil rights for the first time ever. However, his post was not well received by many Nigerians who accused him of being as vocal about the Nigerian presidential election in 2023. Thank you very much. That's all we have for you today. Join us next week as we bring you stories in sport, entertainment, politics, and lifestyle. My name is Ademola Lawrence. Have a very fun-filled weekend, and bye for now. Thank you.